Well, research says people are most optimistic in the morning, and that's why we're starting off with you on a right note. Good morning, welcome to the Morning Brief. I'm Kayode Okikiolu from here in Lagos.
Welcome to the program. I'm Jeffrey Uzam, and of course, we're tracking everything that is happening in the politics. But let me tell you what I've been tracking.
Tell me about it.
Driving down, you know I always talk about that road. My concern now is with the people that cross expressway at the wrong spot. It's really dangerous. You just have one life to live. You can as well make the most out of it and not be careless with it in terms of how you cross the road. And even to policemen who do stop and search and all of that. But the fact that you're carrying a gun and you're an authority, people are expected to respect you. Sometimes, the way you stand on that road to block the vehicle, you have to be careful because that vehicle may just have brake failure and all of that. And while you're thinking the person is trying to run away, you may not be alive to tell the story. So some sense in how you stay around the road or cross the road, whether you are just a passerby, a pedestrian, or a policeman or a law enforcement officer. So I just noticed a few things this morning and I felt like, hey, we have to be careful. So there are points that the drivers are trying to turn and their attention is literally maybe on the right side or on the left side of the road. That kind of blindsides them to what is going on one of the sides. So if you go to cross the road at those particular points, you may be endangering your lives. And some of you carry children and all of that. It doesn't help anyone. So if you can avoid such incidents, please go to different places where it's a bit safer to cross the road. That's just my 2 cents on this issue of traffic.
And what you said just got me thinking. Yes, the police is responsible primarily for security because we're in a democracy, but we still have a lot of relics from, military regime and the military era. First, of course, is the AK-47 that you see the police carrying around. In other climes, you most likely see them with a baton or a pistol that is, well, concealed to some extent. But here, what you see is the semi-automatic rifles or the automatic rifles, and you wonder, are we at war? But that is a Nigerian reality. It's going to be tough to begin to roll that back. That's on the one hand. On the other hand is the roadblock you talk about, Jeffrey. In other climes, you don't have a roadblock, except it's extreme cases, right? Maybe there's a criminal on the loose trying to get out of the city, and then you want to ensure that you manage traffic such that you see everybody who's going out, and you have it at strategic points, really, not what we see here. I saw something on Sunday, Jeffrey, and I think it was around the Otedola Bridge. There's usually this, right under it, there's this checkpoint of sorts.
Yeah,
so
I know.
It was on Sunday. And, that checkpoint causes a lot of traffic all the way back, particularly if you're trying to link outward Lagos from Ikeja, that route.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of traffic.
Maybe CMD, you're coming from Ikeja.
Exactly.
By Omolefish.
Particularly on the Ikeja side, there was a lot of traffic. So I was wondering, why is there traffic? Until I realized that it was because of that on Sunday. So I think what happened was they realized that there was traffic, there was a lot of tailback, and they parked their roadblock and moved to the other side. Yes, we need to have police presence, but not causing, inconvenience to people. Most of the times you hear police say, we didn't sanction this particular roadblock, so we don't know what these people are doing there, trying to make urgent 2K or trying to protect people. It's very tough to tell. So we expect that our police at least live above board, trying to protect people, yes, but of course leave above board when it comes to conducting themselves. So we support you, but we expect the very best of.
I think one of the things the IGP can do, given the fact that he's been in the system, he's worked within the system, is to educate his people, as much as people. I've had relationship with policemen. There are some policemen I walked into their offices and when we talk, I was like, okay, I can't place this one I'm talking to with the ones I meet on the street because they're worlds apart, literally, by every stretch of imagination. And so education is key to our law enforcement, even to understand what the law says. I have a feeling that some policemen don't even understand basics of the law. They may understand the basics of their training, but the basics of the law as relating to civilian relationship with the police authorities, sometimes you can see them, dropping the best you can. But mine is simple. as much as you're standing to do whatever it is you're doing as police or law enforcement, please remember that there's something called brake failure. There's something called accident. It may not be the person is trying to run you over or whatever. It could just be that something happened. And it's because I was driving and this guy was just standing like, pass here because I have to stand here. I was in a hurry, so I didn't have to caution him. So I just let it slide because I'm familiar with those policemen there. So it doesn't make sense. We don't want to lose you. We're already losing policemen to some things that we're not quite comfortable with. So let's not lose people carelessly. As much as we can, let's do the best we can to keep us alive and leave the rest to God.
Because police should be your friend, ideally. But just before we get deeper, prayers up for TJ Omori. I know it's been trending for hours now, particularly across social media. Just to tell you that, well, just an hour ago, he put up a status on his Instagram account, and well, it was a prayer yet again, and saying, "Dear God." So that was him putting this up about 16 hours ago, saying he will be up soon. With a promise, and you could see outpouring of love, after the kidney transplant he had, which he said, well, didn't quite work out well. But it's good on the one hand to see the quality of, healthcare that we can still get in Nigeria. And a lot of people had the debate back and forth, but the truth is we still have the quality. If not, we won't have people trying to poach the quality which we have back home. Just a few things to get right: infrastructure, remuneration, and the rest. And I tell you, will be a haven for health tourism. So that was 16 hours ago. But then he put up a status just about an hour ago, which he had the Dear God line and just the emoji that shows up praying. So prayers up.
Our prayers, our thoughts are with him. He's one of our creatives that we're very proud of as Nigerians. It's quite a difficult time for him, and sure for his family as well. So we pray for him. We hope that is going to recover and recover speedily and fully. But this also calls for all of us to check up ourselves as much as we can. As we said, Nigeria has some of the finest minds and brains when it comes to this sector. But, with the things we have within the system over the years that have accumulated, from the level of infrastructure, working environment, salaries, wages, we call remuneration and all of that. If we put all of this right at the end of the day, trust me, we can reverse medical tourism. It's not talk, it's walk. So whatever it is the ministry is doing and the government is doing, this is just more like a pointer. Yeah. But for TJ Omori, I wish you the very best. We believe you will come out of this, so just stay strong. You're one of our creatives that we're proud of. The very best. Our thoughts and our prayers are with the family.
And another thing, always be your brother's keeper.
Exactly.
Whether it's your brother by blood or brother by nationality. And it was just beautiful to see what his brother did for him. So that's the latest update we have for TJ Omori. We'll definitely be bringing you the latest as soon as it happens. So expect the very best from that one. But what do we have for you on the show today, aside all of those other big stories? Well, strengthening the country's food system is our first mission on the show today, and I do hope it will be Mission Possible, Jeffrey, because it's a big one. The stats of people facing acute food shortage doesn't look too good. The government and multilaterals are racing against time. So join us as we bring it all together to confront this crippling reality of acute food insecurity and explore radical solutions to avert a bigger crisis.
When it comes to food and acute shortage, I'm very concerned because it's a game of survival at that particular point. It's some place you don't want to be at. But we also turn our attention to our ever busy roads. We talked about it in passing at the start of the program, and how to ensure safety at all times, whether you're a commercial or private driver. What are the regulations you have been flaunting? And what checks should you keep in mind before you head out? So fasten your seatbelts, people. So we will take this ride with the people who are in the know to ensure that all of us are safe on the road. So incidents like what you're seeing on the screen can be avoided to the barest minimum. So stick around, whether you are a driver or you don't have a car or you have a car, whatever it is. Because someday you will drive your own car. Like Nigerians like this kind of prayer.
Yeah.
And it's an amen from my end.
people actually get key holders.
Yeah.
And just hang it as a point of contact, something to just keep them, manifesting what they want. So we're going to ensure that when you get that car, or as you're driving the car today, you don't get involved in accidents, what to look out for. But you can be a part of the show by all means. You are welcome. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief, there you have it. Or just head over to WhatsApp and send us your messages, comments, videos, what have you. Whatever is happening around you, let us know. Whatever questions you have about the conversation, whether it's food security or safety on the roads, send them in. And if you have issues that you think the world should know about, that is the number to message and not call, please.
And if there's something, I thought of something, if there's something happening around your area, or because we had someone that talked about insecurity within their vicinity in Abuja yesterday.
In the Amak area.
This is the right time. The authorities watch the program. So if you bring it on, we amplify it for you. You may get the needed help that the area or yourself require to be able to, live better within our country. This is the only country we have. To me, Dakolo says, we're all we have. We are doing our bit. So just help us out by sending those messages and those videos. Our job is to amplify it, but not call the numbers.
So this is what we'll do. We'll take a moment and then bring you the top stories. I can tell you there are issues around flooding, insecurity, and then this NCC SIM linkage yet again. But we'll give you the full details in a few seconds.
I remember also Ajero is also supposed to be reported to the police.
Yes.
Today is D-Day for Ajero. So we're also looking out for that.
So we'll give you all
Ajero
of those
and
details.
The police, they invited him. He said, hold on, need to take a bath, have a shower. Come, I'm just joking. Okay, so he's going to appear before the police today, hopefully. So we're tracking that as well.
So stay with us right here on the Morning Brief. We'll be right back. We'll top on the brief this morning. We begin with a devastating flood that has destroyed about 200 houses at Sabungari and Zaria local government areas of Kaduna State, causing the State Emergency Management Agency to ask residents living in flood-prone areas to evacuate immediately as a result of persistent rainfall and rising water level along the riverbanks. The Executive Secretary of the agency, Mr. Usman Mazado, laments that the flood incident would have been averted if the residents had adhered to the warning of the agency and the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, for those living along flood-prone areas to vacate those places to safer areas until after the rainy season.
We have all witnessed what happened in Sabungari local government, where, of course, the state government, part of its preparedness and mitigation method, try as much as it could to evacuate some certain number of people from those areas. And as we are talking to you right now, most of them that lose their shelters are now camped within Sabungari local government secretariat by the state government, where adequate provision of both food and non-food items is provided, and adequate security is equally provided by the governor in order to make sure the people that are traumatized, the people that are lost their houses, settle for at least some certain days or some hours before they were taken back to their respective houses. So why do we used to have this kind of problem, and why this sudden others? Because we have already for weeks, I have personally have an interaction or interview with several TV stations. I have personally went to radio station. Like in a day, you will have broadcasts from SEMA, from NEMA, from NIMET, and there's over 12 to 15 times. But why is it that we are still having these kind of challenges? The problem is we are yet to understand the essence and purpose of our lives. I keep saying it, and I told the stakeholders, I equally told the people within these front areas that the issue of security and safety is not just about the governor. It's not just because we have the governor that is fear hearing, because we have the governor that is always listening. We equally need to understand the fact that we need to safeguard our lives and properties.
President Bola Tinubu has sympathized with all victims of floods and communities and farmlands across the country, especially bereaved families, farmers, displaced communities, and those who have lost property. According to a statement by the Special Advisor on Media during Galali, the president received the news of a devastation with profound grief. A recent data by the National Emergency Management Agency indicates that lives have been lost, with thousands of hectares of farmlands damaged and thousands of people displaced by floods across the country. As the president emphasizes the need for concerted effort to address environmental concerns and build a more climate-resilient society. Well, let's talk security. The FCT Police Command has paraded 94 suspects allegedly involved in the killing of 2 police officers and injury to 3 others in an unprovoked attack by the proscribed Islamic movement in Nigeria, also known as Shiite, at the Wuse Market Junction in the nation's capital, Abuja. Addressing a news conference, the Commissioner of Police in charge of the FCT, Mr. Benethigwe, while reeling out statistics of other arrests made, also announced the arrest of a serving naval personnel allegedly responsible for killing the son of a former Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ishaya Ibrahim.
After the attack on the policemen, and they killed 2 policemen and wounded 4, including a woman police who were in the hospital. We took action because we can't enjoy it. If you check here, you can see what we recovered from them. Some of the cutlasses you see here are blood-stained.
But in another scenario, it's the citizens who are seen now taking the fight to criminals, as residents of Matuzgi town under Talata Mafara local government area of Zamfara state have neutralized 8 suspected terrorists who they say attempted to invade the community. Channels Television gathered that the incident happened on Tuesday when armed bandits blocked the bridge leading into the community with the aim of attacking the residents. The residents, who were already anticipating the attack, laid an ambush and engaged the terrorists in a prolonged gun battle, according to reports. But the spokesperson of the Zamfara State Police Command, ASP Yazid Abubakar, who confirmed the development to Channels Television via telephone, said the coordinated defense by the residents resulted in the killing of 8 bandits. A federal high court sitting in Abuja and presided over by Justice Peter Lifu has approved the request of the Defense Intelligence Agency DIA to detain an assistant superintendent of police and 19 others for 30 days over the alleged involvement in banditry, kidnapping and terrorism activities. The police officer, ASP Babangida, was ordered to be detained along with other suspects for 30 days to enable the DIA operatives carry out thorough investigation into the alleged involvement in the heinous crimes. The serving police officer, who was arrested in June and had since been in DIA custody, was alleged to have been helping Boko Haram, bandits and ISWAP members in carrying out terrorism activities in some parts of the country. Away from security now, the Ministry of Finance says it has recovered over 83 billion naira through the whistleblowing policy between its inception in 2017 and 2023. But this was revealed in a statement after the minister, Mr. Wale Edu, announced plans by President Bola Tinubu to present the whistleblowing policy to the National Assembly for legislative action. He was speaking during a meeting in Abuja where he explained that the government expects the support of Nigerians in making the policy work towards enhancing transparency and accountability. And the federal government has assured that it is working out modalities on how to make progress with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, as both parties plan to reconvene on September the 6th. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, made this disclosure during an emergency meeting with ASU officials and the management team of the National Universities Commission, barely 10 days to its planned nationwide strike. A part of the modalities worked out is the establishment of a joint committee comprising ASU, the Ministry of Education, and NUC, as well as the Ministry of Labor, to escalate the implementation of all residual issues, particularly those with presidential directives.
We had very sincere and honest conversations on all the issues that are agitating the minds of the universities, and we have worked out modalities on how to make progress on them. And hopefully we see a very good window to the resolution of the issues. So we are coming back again. We're convening on 6th of September.
There are still gaps, and we believe that we also give the government between now and our next meeting to see what they would have done on those issues. We hope that in the interest of our Nigerian students and Nigeria as a country, this issue should be amicably resolved to have a free, smooth academic system in the country, Nigeria.
Well, it's the day that the NLC president, Mr. Joe Ajaero, is expected to honor the invitation by the police for interrogation on some allegations. And the Nigeria Labour Congress has directed all state chapters and affiliate members to mobilize members for a prayer session, and that's what they call it, in solidarity with the NLC president, who is expected for interrogation today. The General Secretary of the NLC, Mr. Emmanuel Ogwaja, who confirmed the directive to our Labour correspondent, said the directives also instructed members from across the states to mobilize and embark on a peaceful procession to their respective state police commands and stay there until the NLC president is out of police interrogation. Let's talk sub-nationals now. The Kano State government has ordered the closure of all bank accounts operated by its ministries and agencies, directing that they be merged into a single treasury account. This directive was issued by the Kano State Governor, Abba Kabir Yusuf, during a meeting held at the Government House in Kano. Governor Yusuf explained that his decision was necessitated by the financial irregularities observed in various ministries and agencies. It states that the government has taken this step to ensure that funds are managed properly and to eliminate any avenue for financial misconduct. Well, let's talk business of communication, as the NCC, the Nigerian Communications Commission, has announced September the 14th as a final deadline for the linkage of the NIN, that's the National Identification Number, and the Subscriber Identification Model, which we all know as a SIM card. NCC spokesman Ruben Moka disclosed this in a statement directing all mobile network operators to complete the verification and linkage of SIMs to NINs by September the 14th. Mr. Moka said over 153 million SIMs have been successfully linked to their NINs. And outside the country, Telegram boss and founder Pavel Durov has been placed under formal investigation in France as part of a probe into organized crime on the messaging app. That's according to Paris prosecutors. The 39-year-old has not been remanded in custody but placed under judicial supervision and has to pay a $5.6 billion deposit. The Russian-born billionaire, who is also a French national, also has to show up at a French police station twice a week and is not allowed to leave France. And let's talk sports. In France, incidentally, it was a spectacular opening ceremony marking the start of the Paris 2024 Paralympic Games as athletes paraded along the iconic Champs-Élysées to the Place de la Concorde in glorious conditions. As with the Olympic Games, the Paralympics opening ceremony was held outside of a stadium for the first time in the French capital. About 4,400 athletes from a record 160 delegations are set to take part in the 22 Paralympic sports, competing for a total of 549 gold medals in Paris. Well, Nigeria will be represented by 23 athletes, 5 in athletics, 2 in badminton, 9 in powerlifting, and 8 in table tennis. So here's wishing Nigerian athletes the very best. Well, let's take a look at what you've been saying now about the top stories and other trending issues. And Jeffrey joins me to walk through that all-important conversation. Jeffrey.
Absolutely. One of the stories that caught my attention that you were reading was that community that came together and said, look,
enough is enough.
We stay, we die, we go, we die. It's the level of bravery of those people, and we must commend them. Yeah. It's not something they should do ordinarily. They should not have business with this unlawful element, this mischievous, evil element trying to cut their lives short and cut off their livelihoods. But they have to take their own destiny in their hands to make sure that, look, whatever happens, we're in this together, and these guys cannot come and take us down while we just sit idly by. So we must commend that community, but it's a big risk. So everybody has to be cautious when it comes to these things. So, but it's just to point out to the fact that government needs to do more.
Step up.
Do more so that citizens don't have to begin to do these things for themselves, which is why some people in the National Assembly were advocating for citizens to not have guns and all of that. Perhaps for those kind of places,
they might need
that may be a good reason for them to carry guns, because they took the responsibility of government on themselves, and they delivered. But let's find out what else you're saying. The very first has to do with 4 Nigerians jailed for issuing over 2,000 fake marriage certificates in the UK. So people are desperate to stay in the UK. People are desperate to live in some of these European countries, but UK is in focus. And these guys have their way, but the law has caught up with them. And this is what you're saying. Felix O says 2,000 forged marriage documents within almost 4 years, average of 500 per year and more than 1 per day. Gosh. Commendations to the investigators. So what happens to those marriages now?
That's the question, Jeff. that is a question. But O Square has this to say: the damage these guys cause many of us in this country is unexplainable. The activities of these guys affect many of us trying our best to be law-abiding in the UK. I should just put this clearly on record. We have millions of Nigerians doing great things. And we talk about in the health sector, the NHS is very grateful to a lot of Nigerian medical workers who are there doing the real work and very best of them. So just 4 people who are involved in this shady act should not and cannot taint the good image of thousands and even millions of Nigerians across the world who are doing some great work. So we say kudos to those Nigerians doing great work. And this is a criminal issue. Let it be dealt with, same as we have other nationals being arrested, even citizens there. So I think that can just...
Absolutely. Well said. Mama Z says the punishment fits the crime. The audacity to forge 2,000 marriage certificates. They did the crime. Let them enjoy the time behind bars. So all the collaborators, the citizens of the United Kingdom citizens who are collaborating with them to do this, they also need to go to jail.
You see Edna and Abdullahi saying some Nigerians were brought to commit heinous crimes to their host country, but they're the ones who always criticize and curse their own country of birth. Now, again, I see where this is coming from. But the question now is that what's the difference between those people and the corrupt political leaders? I think that's the point this user is trying to make ultimately.
Absolutely. So what we're saying, if you have the guts to do the crime, be ready to do the time. It's as simple as that. Okay, so let's get to the next one. The FCT chairman is proposing and asking the National Assembly to more like institutionalize whistleblowing, if you will, to support the whistleblower policy of the government. And make it even stronger than it is, because there are policies in that direction. I think it was quite popular during the time of President Muhammadu Buhari, where some people even had to make some money at that time. But concerns are always after when you blow the whistle, what happens to you? Because of the climate we live in and the leakages we see, even from the presidency, we see leakages, not to talk about law enforcement. Somebody had escaped from the custody of the NSA. So all of this gives people concern as to safety and safety after they've blown that whistle. So it's a big risk. So perhaps that's why the EFCC says
institutionalize it.
All right. Nairoscope says proposing like this, or propositions, I guess, like this is not expected to be suggested to the National Assembly. They were supposed to evoke it and mute it for consideration. The country needs the Constitution to entangle the more democratic laws that will favor the democratic system the people practice.
There you have it. And Umwana Omoywan talks about the point you raised, which is safety. Safety is big here. And this user says safety of whistleblowers in Nigeria isn't guaranteed. That's why we're having fewer whistleblowers. This user says people want to live longer. So I think there are creative and innovative ways to go about this. I mean, there's a blockchain technology, for example. You can employ that. In fact, you have, maybe pay for consultancy. We'll talk about these things, but there are creative ways to ensure that the identity of the whistleblower is protected while doing that all-important activity.
All right, Vera, that worry girl, says, as much as this is a good thing, then the safety of the whistleblower wasn't guaranteed.
So yet again, we're echoing that point. But while all of that is going on, we'll see how this policy and institutionalization plays out. But something beautiful happened yesterday. Well, lots of things, by the way. And this one caught Nigerians by surprise because they didn't they probably didn't follow it.
Majority I was even surprised. I didn't even know about it.
And I'm sure you're wondering what we're talking about. But let's tell you about the 27-year-old Samson Ajao from Osogbo, a Nigerian, obviously, who has performed the world's longest marathon reading aloud, clocking it at 215 hours, and that's just 1 hour short of, get this, 9 full days. And there you see Samson Ajao right there. Jeffrey.
Amazing.
I mean, this is the job we do, right?
We read. Our job is basically reading, researching, so observing, reading.
9 days.
Doing this just an hour short of 9 days. This is incredible. I know some other guys have made this attempt, but this guy just said, look, just chill.
Smash this.
I don't know what it is that Nigerians have not broken in terms of record. This is Guinness Book of World Records.
Right.
I'm sure whenever they see Nigeria, they say, oh no, here they come again.
I'm sure the goal, if they still have the book in volumes,
yes.
I'm sure the goal is to have Nigeria on every page of that
here
book.
They come again.
Way to go, Samson Ajao. Proud of you. Great work you're doing.
Congratulations as well.
We look forward to Nigerians replicating this across, different sectors of the economy and stuff. But first user Abiola of Lagos says, congratulations, Samson. That wasn't an easy feat. You can say that again.
It just evokes that, for me, it also evokes look, we have to read as a people.
Yeah.
Just go beyond the headlines. Fidel Bade says, I'm so stunned. My God, I know we're blessed people, but this one shocked me.
And just to reiterate that point you made, Olashukbo says, this is a great feat in fostering literacy in society. Congratulations to the impeccable Nigerian, this user says.
All right, Chess Lord says, Guinness World Record, Nigerians are coming every attend record you have.
I like that.
Everything you have in the books. In fact, the ones you've not even imagined, we're going to create it. So wherever Hilda Bassi exploded, and since then, we've been breaking records for the record. So that gave us a bit of more PR to say. And Nigerians are saying, so we can do this. Yeah. So don't worry. This guy has done almost 9 days. I will not be surprised. Somebody will take it on from tomorrow and say, I'll do 2 weeks.
There you go. And it's just a no-brainer. We have so much potential. All you just need to have is just enabling environment. So this is what we'll do. Keep your messages, comments coming in, hashtag CTV Morning Brief or on WhatsApp. We'll take a moment now. We'll talk about that very important conversation concerns food security. Some data was released yesterday. That's a WhatsApp number. Mm-hmm. We've got a lot of people concerned. Acute food shortage in Nigeria, where you have a vast arable land, you have huge population. I mean, what do you need that you don't have in the country? So we'll get to the heart of this and ensure, hopefully, we don't have a major crisis at our hands. So that's the moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back. We're talking food insecurity. The numbers we've seen so far, 31.8 million. So if you do the maths of 200 million, that comes to almost 20% of the population, and that's not a joke, which is why we had to bring a panel to have this conversation. That's how important the issue of food is. Look, Nigerians can cope with a lot of things, but not food. And any human being can cope with a lot of things, but not food, because it's basic of the basic of the basic. So when it affects food, everybody should be alarmed. We've been joined in the program by the chairman of All Farmers Association of Nigeria, Southwest Zone. He joins us via Zoom, Mr. Femi Oke. He joins us via Zoom, as well as Bountiful Atako, agripreneur. He joins us from Port Harcourt via Zoom, as well as right here in our Lagos studios, Gbemisola Longe, public policy consultant. Thank you, gentlemen and lady, for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with you, Gbemisola, on this one. Your initial reaction when you heard or saw this number, were you shocked? How did it come to you?
So I had mixed feelings, to be honest. On the one hand, right, we haven't, it's not shocking that this is happening. Food insecurity in Nigeria has been increasing gradually for the last 5 years. Right, so since 2019, we've seen a significant uptick. Actually, if we go all the way back to 2015, 2016, when there was a recession, but we won't go all the way back there. But essentially, it's gradually been increasing. Now, the 32.8% you're seeing, or 31.8%, from, in July versus 18% in December 2023, that number has increased as a result of, essentially, we're talking about people in acute food insecurity. Acute food insecurity means that the people are in immediate danger of health diseases, of
malnutrition.
Death. They're already malnourished.
Right.
They already suffer from malnutrition, but they are, they're in immediate danger. They could die as a result of not having food today, right? But those people were already inching towards the difference of like the 12, 13 million people. We're already inching towards that number since December. At the moment, 104 million Nigerians are facing some sort of food insecurity. Now, at different levels, different scales, right? So even the remaining 60, obviously 32 million people are in that 100 and something, 104 million people basket. But it means that the remaining 80 million, the remaining 70-something million people are just almost also also suffering from acute food insecurity if care is not taken. So it's gradual, but then hearing the number, 32 million people, what's the population of Lagos State? That's like the entire Lagos State being they're currently in immediate danger of, not as a result of not having enough food. So it's still shocking, but it's something that has been gradually growing and has just been left to become as bad as it is today, essentially.
Let's take it to Mr. Oke on this one. All Farmers Association, I'm sure. So you're the guys that help us with the food to make sure it's available. So your reaction, then I will come to Mr. Atako for his immediate reaction, because we want to know how it hits some of the stakeholders. Because we're all stakeholders. At least I'm a consumer, I'm a stakeholder. But you are the suppliers. You're also a stakeholder in this thing.
Yes, what is really happening about this acute food shortage, it's just all these grammars. We should have experienced it during the COVID. That time we never expected, and the thing happened. And look at the whole world. Look at how everybody was doing. Some measures should have been taken as at that time. Real measures should have been taken. Because when you say acute, it is what we see now we eat. It is not, most of what we are eating is not much hygienic. Look at those people selling food by the roadside. Where are all these local government sanitation people, all those who are going around? Are they being checkmate? Those are the things. It's not hygienic. The area of it is, even we producers, we are not very happy with what we are selling, because people will come to complain of cancer, of this. Are we the one? It is not our fault. Where are the agencies that are supposed to guide us? The fertilizers we are using, is it proper? The seeds we are planting, is it okay? And we are not talking of acute. The Yoruba will say, this all started for it's not. We are not happy about it. Look at the ratio, look at the number of which you are talking about that's having acute. So the governments of today, they have to take some measures now. There are the governors in the states have to have an emergency committees, especially to enhance the local government in doing what they should do in every aspect. We don't eat what we see. No. It has to be hygienic. Some years back, people goes around looking for, this place you are cooking is not hygienic. This place you are, where your sewage is not being proper. Is it being done now? How many houses are we seeing? It's man to man. So when we are talking of even farmers, there are times when we even plant. There was a year we planted some maize. No single one germinated. No single one. Look at the labor. Look at all what we did that time. Look at whom do we go to? Where do we go? Recently, the DSS was telling us that they have an agri sector in their office. We are very happy to have even delighted to even work closely with them, so that at least we have an agency that can take it up. That when we have hazard in in the farm, we can easily call them to tell them these are where we could rectify. So farmers ourselves, we are part of the people, we are part of the populace, and we are not happy with what is really happening. Let us eat what we produce, but let us be guided. Let the guidance be there. Let the agencies do what it's supposed to do. Let some people that are supposed to have worked diligently, if they fail, let them be replaced.
All right, Mr. Okay, let's take it to Mr. Atako in Port Harcourt. Apparently, there are multi-layers to these problems, from policy of government to issues of insecurity to the things that we may not be familiar with. So what's your interpretation, Mr. Atako, as to this acute food shortage or food insecurity, as we now call it?
Okay, good morning. So in 2021, I had just read the UN's report that Nigeria will suffer food scarcity, a booming hunger in 4 years, 3 to 4 years. When I read that report, I had said to myself, why are these people blowing things out of proportion? It's about 3 years now. It's 2024, and indeed we can see, the effect of food, the shortfall that we have in food supply. We've seen how tomato went to crazy numbers in a matter of weeks. We see what happened with the onions value chain as well. We see how our yam prices are just all over the place. But, we have seen this coming for some time. So I think that we should talk in the line of offering solutions. What can we do? We need to invest in knowledge sharing and knowledge transfer, extension services for farmers. Since farmers are growing less areas as it is, we need to make sure that they get the most of the yield, optimized yield that they can get from that area. We found that insecurity in some of the areas that our company, Alana Green Limited, is working, in the region, we found that insecurity has made farmers, shift away from the farms for some reasons. Farmers are scared to go in. They said, their mothers are being raped, their sons are killed, and all those kinds of things. And this has caused, particularly in Delta State, for the prices of Gary to go up. I'm sure that we all witnessed that change in the market. So in the lines of solution, we, in partnership with the Delta Special Economic Zone, and some of our partners as PIND, decided to do a capacity building and training program for farmers in the Sapele area. The reason is because the farmers have knowledge, it will transfer onto the farms, and that will significantly increase, their yields. Aside from that, we need to gather farmers' data. This data will help us make informed decisions. Farmers need to be more open, more forthcoming. I was in a training yesterday conducted by the Fadama Project in partnership with the Bridge of Hope Initiative to train farmers in River State. And they were speaking about, the first challenge they are facing is that the ADP, the Agricultural Development Program, staffs are not accessible to them. So we need to move away from political farming to doing the right thing as a country, or else we're going to face, the hard rampaging effect of food insecurity. As it is, the report I read last night says over 31 million Nigerians stand a chance of, looming hunger. So I wonder how we feel as a nation that we can feed ourselves. So we need to adopt a multi-sectoral approach. We need to have more collaborations. The private sector needs to take the lead. Government needs to be more responsible. And then development partners need to start working with the people who can get the job done. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Our mission this morning is to begin to think of those solutions, proffer them, and see how workable they are. And we've identified some of the challenges. So there's a challenge with production, growing the food in the first place. There's a challenge of price. And in that report, which is called the Household Cater Report, I think that's the Cater Harmonized Report, pardon me. It also referenced the removal of subsidy as at the heart of this rising price of food items. Now we have flooding exacerbating the issue. Thousands of hectares of farmland being wiped away, and we just reported that this morning. The president is commiserating with them. But the point is, those farmlands probably had plants on them, most likely had plants on them, and there will be no yield, at least in the nearest future, until something is done. So clearly we have a multifaceted challenge on our hands. So I'll come back to you, Gbemisola, and we need to start thinking creatively, and I really hope that that's what is happening where it matters in terms of government, policymakers, and stakeholders. I really hope that they're thinking creatively, but just in case that's not happening, which I hate to believe, let us do that right here. What are the creative ways by which we can approach this, maybe in terms of crop production, planting? Well, subsidy is government, right? But let's talk about production, which is at the heart of this, ensuring that we have food, not eating what we see, but eating what we ought to eat, actually.
Okay. So one of the factors of, or one of the causes of Nigeria's food insecurity is low production and low productivity.
Right.
So the low production is caused by low productivity. So essentially, farmers are producing less than they used to on the same portion of farmland. And that's as a result of different things. Climate change is a big factor. Flooding, I mean, the floods are not, I mean, they're partly caused by poor planning, but also as a result of extreme weather conditions. So when it's hot, it's scorching. When it's rainy, it's overwhelming, right? So one of the key ways to sort of improve this is climate-resistant agriculture. And essentially what this means is providing new variants of inputs, whether it's seeds or fertilizers that basically cope with the new reality. Obviously, when it's scorching, there's like a new, I mean, there are different types of diseases that, or pests and diseases that farmers have to deal with. Earlier in the year, around May, there was the resurgence of the tuta absoluta tomato Ebola, yes. And that essentially caused tomato prices to increase by 200% in a few weeks, right? This disease, Nigeria has experienced it in 2016, experienced it again in 2020, experienced it again in 2023, and yet in 2024, we're still suffering from the same situation, right? So essentially, these pests and diseases could be averted through climate-resistant agriculture. And I'll give an example of some of that. One is to basically produce more genetically modified products, right, or crops, right? So this typically, essentially the idea of it is, if you had a seed that couldn't cope with flooding before, a drought-resistant seed can cope with it. So produce, essentially like modifying the genetics of, the same way you would modify the DNA of a human being, and that might sound a bit extreme, modifying the genetics of a crop so that it begins to adapt with the current realities of weather. So if there's flooding, essentially, as long as it's not flash floods, right, ensuring that these crops can basically cope with the new climate reality, the new harsh climate realities. Another, and there's a wide range of that. So sometimes it's even like, there's flood resistant, there's also drought resistant, right? So even though there isn't enough water, can this seed, that would typically have dried up as a result of, the dry weather or the heat, can it survive the heat this time? Especially because in Nigeria, a lot of our farming it's not irrigation based, right? We don't have a good irrigation system in many parts of, the farming communities in Nigeria. But apart from that, right, we also need to adopt sort of proactive, adaptive solutions. An example of that is insurance, agro-insurance. There's not a lot of agro-insurance going on in Nigeria, but there is actually, some of it is actually happening. This year, actually, some months ago, Nigerian farmers they got an insurance payout of over 100 million naira as a result of the ginger blight disease or something like that. And essentially what that means is using technology, using data to actually forecast what farmland yields should be. And when they don't hit that forecasted number, basically paying farmers the difference. Obviously, these farmers have to pay premiums. That's actually done through either the aggregators or the off-takers that buy from them, or through the farmers themselves, or through the governments, right? So essentially, this it uses, satellite data, uses yield tracking data to basically find out how farmers are faring. So, for instance, the tomato Ebola situation, if at some point the data, the satellite imagery data had reflected that, diseases or yields were starting to reduce, farmers are essentially compensated for that difference. And what that does is it gives farmers the required resources to plant again the next season. Because what happens is, if farmers do not plant, or if they lose all their crops or all their yield or all their resources they don't make enough money to plant again, essentially.
2 points you've raised, and it's important to bounce this off the people. Genetically modified seedlings or seeds for either drought or flood, whatever the case is. We'll bounce that off Chief Oke, because that usually raises a red flag. But he's in the sector, he's a farmer, and the other part about insurance.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I want to know if you got the 100 million naira payout. But Chief Oke, 2 points she has raised. How workable are they on the one hand? And is that something that farmers are already implementing? And I'm talking about genetically modified plants. Is that something you're already buying into, or there's still that hesitancy? And we saw that a lot. And the other hand is the insurance, so at least help you stay in business and plant again. Chief Oke.
There's no way we could be left out of this insurance. But we farmers, except we want to deceive ourselves, we didn't believe much on this, their insurance. It is when they want to get money from you, they will come to you without any much possibilities of saying, bring all this, bring your mother, bring your father. But by the time you have the hazard in the farm, definitely the story comes up. But let me first start with the flooding of which we are experiencing now, especially in Kaduna. I can tell you today vividly that Kaduna is the major state that determines the price of maize. But with the flooding situation that we've experienced now, there's no way we are not going to have shortage of maize, especially the poultry farmers and the other people using the maize. Because when we talk about it, there's no state that is not being blessed in this Nigeria, that we know major thing that is coming up. But we have to look critically about what is really happening with ourselves. The map out should have been done. We've had the NIMET telling us the climate change has to be changed. Flooding, rain this year is going to come heavily between August, September. And the governor of that state should have done a lot, should have done much, that the flood doesn't destroy the farmland. Don't let us deceive ourselves. We are supposed to be demolished. Let it be demolished. Where the irrigation, not irrigation per se, where the flood have to flow, let it be flow. Demolish most of all these houses so that it doesn't. The problem have now started. There is no way we are not going to experience shortage of food with what happened in that in Kaduna, because an average house, the poultry farmers are going to be, in fact, they are going to cry out. We talk to some state governors, not all the governors. They take measures. When rain is about to start, most of all those things, they should have taken the necessary measures to say this is what's happening, so that you don't wait until insurance. What is insurance? They will collect your money, and at the end of the day, before you even collect anything, pay back. It is stories. So let us take what is right to be done. Let governors embrace the farmers in their states.
Right.
All farmer organizations is the umbrella body. You can't run out of it. There is no way you could run out. And some governors in some states are doing well.
Well, Chief,
them to tell them where are their problems.
Chief, I was hoping you'll also speak to the GMO bit. Either drought resistance, seedlings and all of that. Is that something you're already using? So we can just bounce these issues off quickly, because there's actually a lot to speak to.
It's not accepted by we Nigerians, especially we farmers. But these biotechnologies that have been introduced, there's no way to run out of it. Like I told some other journalists when they were interviewing me, I said some years back, who heard about broiler chicken? We've never heard of it. We don't even know what is broiler. All what we eat is, but because of the population that is now look at the population of Nigeria. It's increasing every day. From 200 million now is going to 220. That what do we eat? So the genetic modified organization is not, but we need the agencies in charge. The NAFDAs are there, the biotechnology companies, agencies are there. Let us sensitize us. The one that will not give us cancer, the one that we eat, the seed that we plant that will not give us hazard. We are ignorant. We are novice. Not many of us are learned. We farmers, if you see us in the farm, it is only few of us that God just says we are able to pass school. We don't need it. And what we are planting, what we are planting is from what we have experienced from our great grandfathers, and we are still doing it up to today. How many capacity building government is now introducing to us? Very few. It is only those who know. Those of us that lives in the village, what we plant. We don't even know what is genetic or what is not genetic. So please, we are saying organic one, like what we plant this year, we always reserve part of it for us to plant the next season. But now they are now telling us we should be buying seed. How many of us have the money to even conserve, to buy new seeds? So we are not experiencing it. So we are not adapting. We are not into GMO. We don't want it. But if it is good, let all those biotechnology, the Nigerian agencies for biotech, they are in Abuja there. Let us come out. Let the Standard Organization of Nigeria, most of all those agencies, NAFDA, let them come together. Then let them inculcate farmers into it, and they should be briefed that if you use this seed, if this seed is being applied, it's not going to have any hard effect in your health. Definitely we will. Ours is to plant. And when we now plant, what do? It's for us to sell. For us to make money. But when we are now talking with all this grammar, and we are not seeing any guideline from any quarters, like some years, like I do tell some people, I said some years back when we were in the farm, we always see these extensions officers. They will come to tell you, oh, don't plant this, space this your maize, space this your farm.
Okay, let's just a minute. So let's also take it to Mr. Atako on this one. Some of your responses. So what she had proposed, talking about GMO, we also need to speak to the issues of logistics as well, which is core as far as this whole food is concerned. When you try to posit it with food insecurity, there are layers of happenings and many moving parts that led us here. So we're here to identify it and look for solution. Atako?
Yeah, so it's important to note that creative thinking is really necessary at this point in time. Like he mentioned, it is important for us to find alternative solutions to what we are doing as a people. At this point, it's critical for us to stick to real-time, real-time data. It's important for us to make our decisions based on data and stop, this whole assumption or assumptive approach. First of all, I read one of the reports from the MBS that said, food inflation, I think month on month, last month, dropped, by about 2 points and all. I'm like, what is the basis, for this data? Because we hear what is happening with the maize value chain. In areas as Ipanyango in Benue State, maize is trading for 80,000 naira per bag. And this is new maize. The markets are just opening. If that will happen, soybean would open, somewhere between 90 to 95,000. Then what will happen to the poultry value chain that we're talking about? Excuse me. These are the major inputs for that value chain. We need to attend to the issues on the ground. Policy. We need to talk policy. Agricultural policy needs to be updated. We need to review. earlier in the week, stakeholders in the fertilizer industry met. The FEPSAN was also there. IFDC was there, of course, co-sponsored by the World Bank. And, they were reviewing the fertilizer sector, from the region, West African region to Nigeria, down to localities. And parts of the problems that, key industry players have identified is the lack of data, as they should be. And, stakeholders are coming together to say we need to, put more efforts in that direction so that when we intend for solutions for farmers, we'll be able, to create things that will work because we're getting feedback from those farmers in form of data. We will improve that using technology. It is important to note as well that I want to say thank you to the lady on the discussion as well for reminding us of our climate responsibilities. We need to adopt more climate-friendly solutions. We need to think irrigation farming. We need to move away from the one system of farming to growing 2 seasons at the least, because where we are as a country is no joke. We need to put our foot as farmers. Remember that we're food heroes. We have a responsibility to fight food insecurity, and we need more innovative financing to come into the sector. We need banks that will float and be focused in agriculture. We need insurance players as well to sit up. So I think, speaking from a private sector perspective, we need more serious businesses in the space. Thank you.
This is very important if we want to have a bountiful harvest, right? Bountiful. I want us to listen to the Minister of State for Agriculture speaking about some of the things you talked about, particularly the insurance bit. Then we'll come to look at what we've seen play out in other climes, how they've handled this, and how we can replicate it here in Nigeria. So the Minister of State for Agriculture has this to say.
The National Agricultural Growth Scheme Agro Pocket Project is designed as a policy project to support food security in Nigeria. And we started last year dry season, where we had production of wheat. And the success we recorded, upon evaluation, we realized that there is an element that is missing, which is insurance or risk management. So what we are doing here today is, having discussed with all the critical stakeholders, we constituted a committee to develop a national agricultural insurance scheme under this program. The whole idea here is that we have farmers in various locations who will participate. What if they suffer crop loss? How do you attend to that issue? So this insurance program is designed to help them get something to at least recoup the losses that they may suffer.
So the Minister of State for Agriculture speaking about a national agricultural insurance scheme. And Bimisola, I'll come to you now because Mr. Oke is quite skeptical about insurance, and I think it's understandable. I mean, he's probably had instances, experiences, and all. So clearly, a lot of work needs to be done there because agriculture is actually a business at the heart of it. It's profit-driven. When you make losses, you probably won't be able to reinvest and feed yourself. But I want us to also expand this conversation because we're obviously not the first country to face this kind of acute food shortage. I know India had a similar situation years ago, and now India has so much food that they're literally trying to slow down on food production. So maybe we can look at case studies. How did they get out of this acute food shortage? How can we imbibe that? And is there like a time frame we can look to and maybe give Nigerians hope?
Unfortunately, there's no time frame, but I'll just speak to a few things that I was going to say before and then jump into this. So the first is, you mentioned things like storage and transportation. Those are very critical aspects of Nigeria's food value chain. In Nigeria today, we lose up to 30% of grains and 50% of tubers and roots, so things like yams, potatoes, to wastage as a result of poor storage facilities, poor transportation facilities, right? In Nigeria as well, the Lakaji corridor, or like road corridor. That's essentially from Lagos to Kano to Jibia. Essentially, that caters to, that's a major transportation line or transportation corridor in Nigeria, and it caters to about 30% of the Nigerian population. Now, that's the major route through which food moves from the southern part, or sorry, from the north to the south, or and vice versa, right? But imagine if that major transportation hub, if there is a gridlock, or if there's something that just, for instance, we've heard of situations where the Kano-Maiduguri highway is currently submerged as a result of the flood. We've had situations where different bridges and different roads in Kebbi State, in Kaduna State, are currently submerged with flood. So what happens in those instances, right? So solutions, which I was going to mention before, is actually moving. And I know that the government, the previous administration did a bit of work, improving the train lines from Lagos to Kano. One of the most exciting experiences I had with the trains was seeing actual cold storage carriages on those trains, on the train tracks. Now, I didn't see them moving. I just saw them on the tracks. So
just to be clear, in Nigeria.
In Nigeria. So I didn't see them moving, but I don't know if they were actually functional. But that, in my mind, opened, that was the potential for proper transportation of food across Nigeria. Now, that reduces the risk of accidents, reduces cost of transportation. And I say reduce cost of transportation because one of the major cost centers or cost components of transporting food from one part of Nigeria to another is informal taxes, right? So trucks carrying food are stopped by informal law agency or law enforcement, so people who have decided that they would collect taxes because you're passing their community, and that makes, some of them give out tickets and all of that, but that...
the so-called area boys. Or the good boys, sorry, or Jesus boys. Now, Lagos is calling them the good boys.
Even the police.
Right.
Right, so there's a huge network of informal tax agents that basically hike the cost of transportation or cost of moving food from one part of Nigeria to another. So finding solutions to that, and then the solution is not necessarily kicking all of them out of the roads or whatever, but creating alternative transportation solutions. Trains, air transport is quite expensive in Nigeria now.
We had the Railway Corporation head in July, and he was speaking about cattle movement to begin soon. We'll do a double check to be sure it has begun. And the possibilities are endless. We can move to food, the cold storage, we can move to it, and that can reduce that. I just wanted to put that in and remind the Railway Corporation that we're coming to.
Yeah. So now to the question about
other clients. Is there something they've done that we can
creative solutions, right? So insurance. Surprisingly, insurance in the food sector in Nigeria, if you actually do a deep dive, many companies, a few insurance companies have come out to actually declare that they've paid out, or they've declared insurance payouts to farmers. In 2022, when Nigeria experienced the worst flooding situation till date, we saw over 400,000 hectares of land wiped out. Many farmers actually got insurance payouts through the Anchor Borrowers program. But essentially, when we think about insurance payouts for farmers, it's different from farmers being called together and giving their money back, right? Because sometimes they don't even pay the premiums in cash. Right, they don't pay, by giving out money. Sometimes they pay through the inputs that they buy, right? So sometimes when farmers are being compensated for their loss, sometimes it's through inputs. Sometimes it's through the off-takers who, sometimes, let me just paint a scenario of how farming works sometimes in Nigeria. So you have a farmer who needs money to plant his seeds or to plant for the new season, and what does he need the money for? Seeds, fertilizers, labor and all of that. So the farmer is sometimes giving cash, to pay for labor and, people who would clear the land and all of that. And in addition, giving seeds and fertilizers on credits.
All right.
Now, when this person is ready to sell, they sell they essentially pay in form of their harvest and are paid the difference, in cash. So you collect seeds in credits, collect fertilizers in credits, give back those things through your harvest, and then the difference, obviously the harvest is usually like surplus, the difference is now paid in cash. Now, when you're not able to provide payback, in terms of if you suffered a loss or whatever, you are then allowed, not go scot-free, but then that's difference that what you would have paid for is then given to the off-taker who provided the inputs to you, right? And apart from that, you're still compensated. So ideally, that's what's supposed to happen. The Anchor Borrowers program was a huge platform through which agro insurance was actually conducted. Now, there have been reports of that program being heavily politicized and farmers not reaping the full benefits of, the program. So that could be a reason. But insurance works. Another thing I'll just mention is the AFDB recently, last month, paid out, I think, $11.2 million to the Malawi government for the same insurance payouts as a result of the El Nino induced droughts that they faced, right? So these are initiatives that we've seen. Insurance is a big part of mitigating against losses, which is something that a lot of Nigerian farmers actually suffer from. So if we can...
Yeah, I know you have a lot to say, but let's take a guy in Port Harcourt to bring his input as well, as far as solutions are concerned. So there are myriads of solutions, just like there are myriads be the right word now, a lot of solutions, if you will, because of the different layers we have to deal with at the end of the day. So what is your own solution in winding down on this particular issue? Let me start with Mr. Oke, who is in the Farmers Association.
We've had what ministers said about insurance, which we have to adapt. Like I said, not many farmers take cognizance of it because we don't have much assurance, much interest in them. We go off what we are going to do, and that was why we are seeing the data that is very, very low. But as it is now, definitely we have to sensitize our people that insurance is key, but we have to still tell them it is not when we had losses and they are going to pay the following year. No. When things happen, insurance has to take immediate action. Not because the planting season we have in Nigeria, most of it is seasonal. Not many of us can do irrigation, so we have to wait until when the rain want to start. Every period has its own season. So please, the Honorable Minister, you have spoken well. We've heard of the insurance that we are going to. But let them come out, let them tell us that we farmers, we are very happy to have it. Though we've been hearing much of it, Nike have been with us, but it is not immediate action that always been taken when we had some hazard in the farm. So immediately all these things happen, definitely let insurance take immediate action. That is our take home. That we wouldn't mind to insure our farmland, because if we have a bumper harvest and we don't have any issue, everybody will smile. Even the populace will be very, very happy about us. But for us to have spent much money on insurance and we had flood and we now call them to now tell them we're having all these issues, we have to start asking us until 2-3 years for us to be paid. It's not a welcome development. So let actions be taken on it. Let most of the committees that have to be set up, let farmers be included. Let them come. Like to what Mr. Otake said, the last fertilizer that was just being reviewed, we were told it's every 5 years. And it's a national issue, not only Nigeria. The Nigerian government have to send Federal Minister of Agri there. I was there. IFDC. The World Bank conducted it. And we have to do that review just last week here in Abuja. So let things be put in place as at when due. Let me stop there.
All right, let's get to Mr. Tako. Can we reverse this? Because that's a question that Kayode had asked. Other clients, they face this situation, and we've seen results in terms of, reduction or reversal. Where should we be heading in your books?
Okay, so time and time again, I will speak from a private sector-led approach, because I believe that the private sector and young people hold the potential that the agricultural sector in Nigeria needs to transform. I do firmly believe as an individual, and I've also read through the AFDB 10-year strategy document, and I've seen that is where the bank is benchmarking their hope on. You get me? So we need to think about building an ecosystem, one where we have farmers, of course, grouped in cooperatives, or clusters, who we as private sector companies would see as our farmers. We'll find a way to also build the infrastructure that they need, to thrive, irrigation, mechanization, quality fertilizers. From that workshop, and I think I just remember seeing the Southwest chairman, in that workshop, we learned that the current usage of fertilizer today is 24 kg per hectare. It's over 100% below, 150% below the Food and Agriculture Organization recommendation for fertilizer usage. So we have work to do. We need to be responsible. We need to see this as serious business that it is. Young people need to work tirelessly in their sectors, be it technology, be it finance, and all of that, to see how they can identify opportunities in the agricultural sector and tap in, lock in. We need to become more climate responsible. Like I said, farmers need to open up for the right training and hand-holding. And, there have been a trust deficit between the governments, the farmers, companies, the farmers, development initiatives, and, the people involved. We need to start healing, start engaging more, opening up. Proper communication also would help. You were talking about the issues of GMO initially. I don't have an official position on that because I'm still doing my research. There are a lot of good sides to it. There are also the downsides to it at this point, which I don't intend to discuss as of this time. But, the government has a responsibility to their people to educate them. You need to speak about these things. You just don't introduce something that has this high level of controversy as a nation going through a lot. Look, when I read that UN report on food hunger in 2021, they projected 25 million people. And the last document I read last night on this same issue, I think it was published by The Guardian or so, is talking about 31 million people. That's 6 million people on top, over 20% increase. So if we're not taking this thing seriously enough, then we're in for a long one. So we need to build that ecosystem, like I was talking about, adapt more climate solutions. Okay. We need to move with global trends. Okay.
Absolutely. A lot has been said. The whole idea is to ensure that our people don't die when they shouldn't. This is an avoidable crisis. Though it's been building for many years, and it's now time for government and the authorities to come to the aid of the people and do the best they can with the stakeholders so that consumers and citizens like us will not suffer the consequence of all of this. We must thank all of you for coming on the program. This is Afemi Oke, All Farmers Association of Nigeria, Southwest Zone. Thank you, sir, for coming. He's the chairman, as well as Bountiful Atakoa, agripreneur, and right here in our Lagos studio, Gbemisola Alonge, public policy analyst. Thank you.
Thank you
all for coming on the program. Lady and gentlemen. Thank you so much. All right, we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll talk about road transportation, the things you need to know, both as a commercial or public-private driver, and all of the angles we've not been looking at, maybe flouting the laws that we don't even know. The authorities will be here to explain all of it to us right here on the program. Join us again.
Well, let's talk road safety. We all have to use the roads at some point. You're either driving, you're a passenger, or you're a pedestrian, or some of us on our scooters. But the point is, we all use the roads, and it's important to ensure that we're safe. Recent accident figures don't look good at all, and you just wonder, what exactly is going on? So just to reiterate some of the safety measures you need to pay attention to, we have joining us on the show this morning, the Sector Public Education Officer, FRC Lagos State Command, Elizabeth Jayola. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You know, earlier when I was saying welcome to Lagos, as opposed to this is Lagos.
This is Lagos.
Exactly, because you've been in Ondo State.
Yes.
And then you're in Lagos. You've been in Lagos for less than a month.
Yes.
Doing the work. And, you know, the background to this is Lagos has the largest vehicular traffic in Nigeria, in the region. And, you know, we know how it is with vehicular traffic in Lagos. Traffic itself is
Lagos,
and the tendency to have these issues with accidents here and there. So I want you to give us a background about the peculiarity of Lagos State and the traffic. There's a tendency to take it for granted, and then we can extrapolate to other parts of the country because the same laws apply. But what is it about Lagos in the first place regarding traffic, and then we can extrapolate?
Okay, so when we look at the population of Lagos, apart from the human population, we have to look at the economic aspect of it as well. We have a whole lot of companies, businesses here in Lagos. And then you compare it to other states in Southwest or in Nigeria. I think we have a whole lot to do when it comes to traffic. You want to go out, I want to go out. Scooters, motorcycles, and all of that. Compared to all other areas where they can actually take public transport easily and get by. Do you understand? Or you can move from your house, maybe with your legs, and get to your work as soon as possible. As to where you move from mainland to island, we don't have them in other places. We don't have island, we don't have mainland. We don't have that distance in other areas. So traffic in Lagos is really a great deal. It's a great deal.
And I know that you are, diving in straight up because, of course, there's a lot of water here in Lagos as well.
God's grace.
But let's talk about the challenges we face. That was just a soft landing of sorts. So the challenges are multifaceted. So a lot of people point to commercial vehicle owners or drivers as largely responsible for traffic and some of these issues we see on the roads, some of them not roadworthy. And we'll take it across board. We're starting with the big ones. Some of them not roadworthy. Most of them don't obey traffic rules. So there's a lay-by for you to park, for example. But most people don't use the lay-by. In fact, the road is the lay-by, and the lay-by is for pedestrian. So you see that, and what you find most times is officials of the FRC, LASMA, they just look on as though these ones don't matter and focus a lot on private vehicle owners. That is something I have experienced. And you want to tell them, please look at those people. They are not parked right. And you see some of them right beside it. So let's start there. In terms of enforcement, is there a challenge for you to enforce for public commercial vehicles?
I don't think there's any challenge anywhere. As of yesterday in the office, before I left for the Safe to Load program, I saw over 5 commercial vehicles as against 1 private vehicle. So I think in Lagos, what we should look at is the population of these commercial drivers to the populations of the enforcers. That's the FRC, the LASMA, then, other organizations that are on the road. Do you understand? We can't be here and be there at the same time. You are there, we are here, and we want to enforce here. And there's something happening on the other side of the road. So there has to be, we'll take it a day after a day after a day, and then we keep educating them. We keep educating them. For enforcement, I think we've done a whole lot. Just last week, we had a meeting. The sector commander of FRC in Lagos State, Commander Davo, had a meeting, a strategic meeting with the members of the NURTW, that's the management level, NATO, the return, the Akumara, to really look at these issues that we're talking about. Do you understand? So we're taking it a day after a day so that at the end of the day, we can have you know, free movement here and there in Lagos State.
I know you say you're new to Lagos. The issue of traffic and what Kada had mentioned is almost like a regular thing.
Yes.
So let me paint the picture for you. This is what we perceive as the populace. It feels like the FRSC, LASMA, and all the people in charge of transportation, they are really overwhelmed by what is going on the road. You may argue whether you're overwhelmed or not, but this is we speaking what we, saying what we see every day. So at the very same spot, when a private vehicle is committing an offense, that same spot, you see maybe 3 or 1 or 4 commercial bus drivers committing the same offense, and nothing happens. I mean, look, they are focused more on the private commercial because perhaps those ones are more civil, maybe they can get something out of them or what. So these are the issues. So I want us to be brutally honest, because if you guys are not brutally honest, you're not going to solve any problem. It's just going to be having management meeting with NUR. They've been having these meetings. How far? So question is, you're not in charge of educating. You're reporting to them based on what you see on the field. So what are you guys going to be doing differently?
Okay, when you say how far, can we compare what traffic used to be in 2020, let's take it from 2015 to 2023, and what it is now? It's not the same thing. So like I said, it's a gradual process. We'll get there. So I go out to do the enlightenment thing. I go back to give them the feedback, and they are, trust me, we are always working. We are always working. As it is, if you go out now, you find our vehicles, you find our men on the road enforcing. On International Youth Day, I was out talking to commercial drivers, not just the private drivers. I was talking to both the commercial and the private. And I made them understand that after this talk, whatever happens, you bear the brunt. Do you understand? So we go out to do the enlightenment and go back to give the feedback to our bosses. And trust me, they are working on it. So don't worry.
No, okay. So I don't know why I'm not impressed with they are working on it. Somehow.
Okay, why?
Yeah, because I drive every other day. Okay. I'll give you a classic example.
Okay.
I come to this show almost every day, and one of the things I always raise is, I don't know whether you're familiar with New Garage, somewhere around here. It's not very far away when you go down to Kara. So these guys, they want to stop and pick commuters or people that are going to different places, maybe Moe, Ibafo, and all of that. They leave the very place they are allowed to park, and they stop. In fact, they cover almost 2 lanes, and this is express. So you, the driver, private driver, who wants to enter the express, you're forced to enter that very dangerous lane. That is one problem. I remember even at OPIC here, I know this is Ogun State, so OPIC here, there was a time I saw the guys made effort. They even created some things to make sure that they don't park. After a while, they got tired. So these are the things we're talking about. It's not as if we've not seen effort. It looks like the agencies responsible have decided, perception. So you have to help me correct that. We will try. If we can't try, we'll just let them be. Is that what is going on? No,
that's not what is going on. No. That's not what is going on. So if you look at it very well, you said New Garage area. New Garage area. I'm going to personally look into this particular area that you're talking about. But apart from that, that area that you're talking about, if you look at it very well, you always find our men around that area, yeah?
No, sometimes you don't see them. No. You see them on the other side.
On the other side of the road?
You see the other side. The very spot where they don't see them.
You don't find them. Okay. I'm going to take it as an assignment from you to the FRSC. And starting from now, we're going to be working on it.
That's what we want to hear. It's a collaborative effort, really. There's you, the law enforcement agencies, we the people that we know where the shoot pitches, or in this case, where the buses park, illegitimately. But now let's talk about awareness. Yes, we can talk about these specific scenarios, but I want everybody to leave this conversation with something, right? And let's look at the figures, the statistics of road accidents. It's not been good, really. And we can go as far back as 2022, where we had number of injured at 1,762. Then go to that same year, number of crashes was 4,162. But fast forward to 2023.
In Nigeria or in Lagos State?
No, across board.
Across board.
Yes, and then you see in 2023, that's a year after, number of injured, 2,055, and the number of crashes, 4,709. The point here is quite simple. The numbers are increasing, from the injuries to the crashes themselves. And we know that there are a number of issues responsible for road accidents. So I want us to break it down. I want you, rather, to break it down for us. You've seen these figures. What we see are the figures, right? Or you do the investigations, right? You see, oh, this is what was possibly responsible and all of that. So for the benefit of those who always wonder what happens after accidents, what do you do? Walk us through. What are the major factors responsible for accidents that you've seen?
Okay, if we look at the human, the mechanical, and the environmental factor, we all know what those are. But let's look at this particular issue of distracted driving and speeding. I think majorly, in Lagos State, what I've realized is speeding, distracted driving, and aggressive driving. We all want to get to our destination on time. We want to go from Lagos mainland to island in 10 minutes, when honestly it's supposed to take us maybe like 30, 35 minutes. And then you find somebody, call on for me, you want to get there and all that. This has happened to me. And these are, for me, these are the causes. Speeding, distracted driving, I want to make call, I want to do this, I want to do that at the same time. And there's something I talk about distracted driving. When you are driving, I don't know about when you're in your house and you're cooking and you want to watch TV and all this, but when you are driving, your brain can only function in one space at a time. In one space at a time. You can't, it's a focus thing. You want to focus on the road, you want to check your inner mirror, you want to check the ones outside, you want to be focused on who is coming behind me, who is going, and then you want to make call at the same time. And calling needs focus at the same time. So your focus cannot be in two places at a time. It's a psychological thing, if you realize. So you want to make call, hello, how are you? And before you know it, boom, something happens. And then there is this person distracted while driving and still speeding.
It's like the perfect recipe for
disaster. Do you understand? Speeding. And according to global safety reports, speeding is a major contributor to road traffic crashes, injuries, and what have you. So you need to pull it down on this speed that we're talking about. So in Lagos, you want to speed up, you want to be aggressive, you want to be distracted, you want to talk to this person, you want to all at the same time. And then while I was talking to somebody, he had given that, I want to make call, I want to talk to my customers, I want to do this, all at the same time on the road. So it's a focus thing. You want to focus on your driving, you want to be seen. Before you know it, if your attention is divided or your focus is divided, you're out of the road in no time.
Just to be clear, vehicles these days, and I think we need to reiterate, for people who hold their phones and make calls, that's a no-no. But clearly there are vehicles that come with that function. You just speak it with a button, you're still focused and you're driving. You're certainly not against that.
Okay. And while you're picking, what happens?
No, the picking is actually right there on the steering.
You can use Siri to pick.
How many hands are you supposed to use on your steering? Why is the steering
Okay, let me explain the vehicle I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a vehicle that you have to press a button for to pick.
Okay, so
it's just where your hand is. In fact, the functionality was put there by the car. It's like just to be clear that you're not against that.
How many of us have that in Nigeria?
No, I'm speaking to those who have that, just to put those ones in a bucket.
No, the question is how many. Now, when you go back to the accidents that we're talking about and you check these vehicles, do they have the functions that we're talking about? No. They are the ones who use the actual phone to make calls.
So that's the one you frown against.
That's the one we frown against.
So you were telling us more. So we're listening to other things that causes these accidents. So
Yes.
Because you're here to teach all of us what we're doing wrong and what we can do better.
And then we look at the case of, we've talked about speeding, we've talked about distracted driving and what have you. And then we look at these articulated vehicles as well. We're currently frowning against those articulated vehicles that carry human goods and still put animals. You say, And then when accident happens, you know why the rate of injuries and death will be high? It's because the horns of those animals pierced through these humans.
Oh boy.
And then, so we are currently frowning against articulated vehicles carrying goods, humans, and animals.
What do you mean frowning against? Because I see this almost on a daily.
Yeah, because there was a time
coming into Lagos.
Yeah, there were times they said they should only move at night.
Right.
How is that going, by the way?
So are you just...
They should only move at night with their goods.
Or you arrest them?
Not with humans. They can move with their goods. Goods can be animals, can be anything, but not with humans. Now, if you take a look at this, I think when my sector commander resumed in May 2024, there was a mobile court done along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to really get these people, and they got a lot of them. And then there's another one they're currently planning for September. We're doing it with the members of LASMA and other agencies that we're going to be working in, and it's going to be very, very, very severe.
Because I saw this. In fact, you mentioned it, and I just remembered.
In fact,
I saw this 2 weeks ago.
Not 2 weeks ago. On Thursday, I was coming from Surulere to Opik around 9 p.m. And I told my sector commander when I got to the office, I said, this has to be done as fast as possible because the numbers are counted.
So that means for now it's not being enforced?
It's being enforced, but you know that we don't come out at night. So these people...
No, the one I saw was during the day.
At what time?
On a Sunday at around 2 or 3 p.m.
In Lagos State.
In Lagos. They were coming from the Long Bridge.
Okay.
In fact, I saw them on the Long Bridge, and it was very concerning. In fact, what made me notice was a bag dropped from the articulated. So one of them had to jump down. So they slowed down, jumped down, ran all the way back to pick it.
And there are animals.
There were animals. So it's multi-layered. There's the animal, there's the human, and the bags and the rest. And I thought, wait a minute. And this is what I see on a daily basis. So clearly someone is not enforcing. Because I'll tell you this, the route on the Long Bridge was narrowed. There's some construction going on. So it was narrowed. So the traffic wasn't moving as fast.
That's why we're saying that failure may be too much of a strong word. Somebody's not doing their job because those kinds of vehicles now, they are coming from God knows where.
Maybe they've passed through different states.
Different states.
They've gone through states, and I'm sure they've met maybe your people or the police or all of that. So what is going on?
Trust me, this issue, I'll have to take this back to the sector commander, but this issue is something that we are really not happy about. We're really not happy because if you count the numbers of accidents that have happened with the articulated vehicles, we're not smiling towards it at all. So I'm going to take this back, like I took the one I experienced back to the office, and we're going to work on it.
So let's talk about, of course, Nigeria, although we don't know how many we are, but we're assuming we're about 200 million plus. Lagos is in the range of 20 million plus. That means there's no way the FRSC, LASMA, all of you, and even volunteers can even solve the problem in one fell swoop.
In one day.
Technology, how much of technology do you deploy to help your work? Because we're all in this together. Your work is so important because any mistake is life or death.
Death.
Technology.
Technology-wise, we recently introduced the radar gun technology, where the personnel handling it can actually detect a vehicle overspeeding, and they will be brought to, they will be dealt with. And then there is the mobile app that's going to be launched in September 2024, by next month, by God's grace. It's going to be launched, and it has a lot of functions. It has the functions for the citizen. It also has the function of the FRSC being responsible for the citizen as well. So you can actually do a lot of things with the app. The driver's license, the report of what we are talking about here can actually go on the app, and we take it from there. There are going to be people at the back end who are going to be working seriously day and night, just like we have at the National Traffic Radio as well. So that is what we have now for 2024. We have the radar gun technology, and we have the mobile app being launched by next month.
Let's try to operationalize this radar gun to begin with, and then the mobile app. So the radar gun, use it to, by the way, where has it been deployed in Lagos?
It has been deployed in Lagos, and it has been used on the Third Mainland Bridge.
So that's what will be used to check people who are over speeding above the 80-kilometer limit. So this is what happens. You use a radar gun to follow the car. I mean, we've seen, even if people have not seen it, they've seen it in movies, right? And you see, oh, this person is doing 100. So what happens is you have to have a vehicle that is ready.
There's somebody at the other end who is waiting for that driver.
Fantastic. So that's what you do. So you get the plate number and you send it quickly.
You can, through the mobile app now, you can send it quickly to the next available patrol team or the command so that they can check and, do the necessary things. Flag the person down.
In the most professional manner.
In a professional manner.
So this will start in September, you say?
This started already. That radar gun technology already, but the app will be launched by next month. But for the radar gun, they've used it already on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. For Lagos, like I said, they've used it already in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway for the mobile code they had. I was not here then, but I was fed by mine.
Just quickly, the mobile app. So will that reduce the whole your vehicle papers? Because you can just check the plate number, maybe take a picture of it, scan it, and it brings the details. So you see whose vehicle papers have expired, whose license has expired. Is that also incorporated?
You know that before now we have what's it called, a website that you can go on to check whether your license and all that. Yes. So we are going to bring this to the mobile app as well, so you can check for licenses, for number plates and all that, so to know who is who and what is what.
So how can citizens help you do better? Because this is important to all of us.
Join us. Volunteer.
I'm a journalist. I can't.
You're a journalist. Yes, you're joining me by doing the enlightenment.
How is my question.
You can be the marshal.
It can be the special marshal. It can be the special marshal. Yes, we can have a unit.
For your area, you can join, Jeffrey.
No, we can even have a unit here in Channels TV. Or you can join in your area. Where do you live?
Is that?
Which area?
This area.
Okay,
Lagos.
so I'm sure we have special marshal units around this area, so you can join us, volunteer. And this we are doing as well is also part of what we can be doing, enlightening people on what about road safety.
Do you guys also clamp down? I know you're federal road safety, so do you also clamp down on those terrible vehicles that are not roadworthy? You're driving in somewhere like we're having a festival on stage, a chimney, like literal chimneys in your face because of the level of smoke we see, although that's quite reduced. In some places, but you also clamp down on those. We clamp down on.
We call them articulated vehicles. We clamp down on them as well.
Right. Okay. Do you clamp down on your men and women who take bribes, who unlawfully get money?
You don't want to know what happens to them at the end.
We want to know, actually.
I was a patrolman for close to 9 years, so. It's not something that FRC smiled about.
Did you ever take bribe?
No, never.
So why are you different from the other ones we've seen?
Why am I different from other ones I've seen? Okay, so it's a thing of the mind. It's a thing of the mind. It's a thing of you being responsible for what you are doing. I'm responsible for the job I'm doing. I'm responsible for my name. I'm responsible for myself. So it's a total, but when they find out, whether by report or by seeing.
How do you check yourself? Because in Senate climbs, I hate to use that word Senate climb, other climbs, you have this cams, either body cam. I know you guys don't have body cam police. So how do you know that your guys are misbehaving, the ones that are mischievous?
The ones that are mischievous are, okay, let's take a look from my own point of view of being a team leader on patrol. I go on patrol and you don't, for me, they know, it's the responsibility of the team leader or the squad leader.
Right.
When you go on patrol, you know that it's a no-no for the person you are going out with. And then when you take it, it is my responsibility as well to report you in the office. And
I think this has been a very interesting conversation. Clearly, a lot of work to be done, but we're going to be here, work with the FRC and ensure that our roads are safe. And you look out for Jeffrey as a special marshal in the coming days. Yeah. How about me? Hey, I'm here for the people. So whatever will help the people, I'm all for it.
I'm going to drag you.
But we have to thank you so much, Elizabeth Jayola, Sector Public Education Officer, FRC, Lagos State Command. 3 weeks in Lagos. We wish you the very best.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Well, there you have it. So don't forget to check your vehicles, ensure you obey all traffic rules, regulations, and laws. But let's take a look at the feedback which you've sent in on the show this morning. Jeffrey, you want to take the first one?
This is coming from X, Dr. Mike Terungwa. He says the quick solution is Operation Feed Yourself, Grow Your Own Food. That's talking about when we talked about food insecurity, acute food insecurity, gardening and urban farming, support for small-scale farmers, especially women and young people, is urgently needed. Commercial farmers produce for export, while our small-scale farmers have to feed the nation. And Kenna says food sufficiency must start from securing our farmlands, sort the herders-farmers conflict, invest in agriculture. He says, like the Netherlands, a nation the size of Lagos, which is the smallest state in Nigeria, that makes about 123 billion euros from agricultural exports. And this accounts for 13% of their total export revenue. You can also bring India in and other countries. So yeah, we can definitely do this. But that's where we anchor at this point. Thank you so much for being a part of the show and allowing us to be a part of your day. We wish you the very best. I'm Kyle Kikil. And don't forget, Sunrise Daily is up at the top of the hour. The team will be right here with you to make sure they bring you up to speed with what's going on in the polity. Thank you for watching. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo.